My name is Sarah. I'm head of products at Banking Circle. Request to pay in its broadest definition is a user experience. So it's a particular way to make a payment for a purchase of a good or a service. So if I'm a merchant and I sell you a pair of shoes, now you arrive at the moment where you have to pay, I'm going to ask you to identify yourself. And you can either provide your bank and the credentials, it could be your phone number, any other ID that's sort of part of the solution that you're subscribing to. My request to pay provider will now find your request to pay provider based on that ID, and your request to pay provider will send you a request. Please pay Sarah so and so much for the shoes that you purchased in her shop. You can accept, and you're then asked to authenticate through some secure authentication method. Your request to pay provider will now let my request to pay provider know that you've accepted, and I can send the shoes. And in a separate loop, the payment then gets made. See, the advantage of that is that is a super smooth experience for you as a buyer. You only need to remember your ID, which in turn makes it advantageous to me as a seller because my conversion rates are going to be better. But also these solutions typically are cheaper than card payments, and they can also be faster in terms of the speed with which they move the money from you as a buyer to me as a seller. So request to pay, in fact, has already dramatically changed the payments landscape in different geographies. So there are some countries where request to pay is already very widespread. Holland is the most obvious example. In Holland, you have Ideal, which is a payment solutions that the banks came together to provide a number of years ago. And that is very widely adopted in Holland. So around 70% of e-commerce is actually settled using Ideal. Similar solutions also exist in other countries. In Denmark, where I'm from, there is a solution called Mobile Pay, which underneath relies on account-to-account payment or cards, depending the situation. You have Sofort in Germany, etc., etc. We generally see that there is a large trend for open banking providers to get into this market. So they will offer a request to pay solution that is based on open banking PISP APIs in combination with virtual accounts, push technologies, etc., whatever is required to build the payment experience that they would like to offer. They are specifically designed to facilitate this type of experience. So when they gain adoption and traction, they may really change this market. Yeah, so that question you can kind of answer from different angles depending what fintech type you are. If you are looking to be providing request to pay solutions, you really need to be aware that it's a patchwork of solution. So depending the geography, you may find one prevalent solution, you may find several to choose from, you may find none at all. So really be aware when you choose your provider of making the right compromises between the geographies you want to be in and the solutions that you need. If you are a fintech looking to build a request to pay solution, I think it goes without saying that you carefully need to consider the end user experience and what other payment alternatives you're going to be competing against. What's perhaps a little bit less obvious is you really need to be thinking about the payment rails. So what are the premises for you to be building a particular request to pay solution? If you're going to build it on open banking, you need to think about how mature open banking is and the geographies that you want to address. If you want to build an instant request to pay payment experience, you really need to think about how well instant works in the geography that you want to go into. If you're in the UK, you're going to be very used to faster payments. It's a very mature solution used very widely. But if you go into the European zone, for example, SEPA Instant, the instant payment scheme in Europe, is much less widely adopted. And so you're going to find it harder to build that kind of an instant gratification feeling in your request to pay solution. Finally, if you're already in request to pay, then I'd really keep an eye on those message schemes. Once they are out there and become more widely adopted, they will really facilitate request to pay experiences in a way that we haven't seen so far. The first and most important advice I'd give is to obsess about success rates. This area is not equally mature everywhere, and the maturity depends on the underlying technologies used. The second one is get stuck into the technical details and the various options out there. You're going to be looking for the right companies to partner with, and the devil is in the detail. And maybe finally, as in any financial area, be interested in license, consumer protection, other regulations, which also comes into play here.